Hi everybody, I'm Lance Porter. In this video I want to talk about and demonstrate how to paint a nose. And it's funny, when I do my 2-day Learn to Paint Portraits workshops, I offer to paint any part of a portrait that's giving a student a particular problem. And very often I get asked by my students to sit in their chair and take over for a little bit when they get to the nose. I get a lot of practice painting noses. And I can understand why that is. There are two problems with painting the nose. And the first problem is that you really can't paint a nose. It doesn't have a definite shape in the sense that an eye or even the mouth or the contour of the face does. The nose is just made up of flesh, exactly the same color as your cheek, the upper lip, the forehead, all the flesh that surrounds it. And the only way you can actually see a nose is by the shadows it casts and the highlights it picks up. So it's almost a Zen Buddhism kind of a thing. If you want to paint a nose, first of all you have to give up all desire to paint a nose and instead dedicate yourself to copying the shapes of color that make up and surround the nose. It's the only way it can be done. Forget about the nose. It doesn't really have an outline. It doesn't have any hard edges. Concentrate on those shapes of color, get them duplicated perfectly, and the nose will appear as if by magic. The second problem that there is with painting a nose is an even more practical one, and that is that when you do chase those shadow shapes and colors, you'll find that they go to extremes. In other words, the shadow that a nose casts on the unlighted side is very often the darkest shadow on the whole face. But at the tip of the bulb of the nose, the nose often picks up a highlight that is very often the lightest highlight in the whole face. The practical problem is that they're so close together. You've got this deep shadow here, a lighter shadow here, and then rimming around the nostril, this very light area of color, and then the nostril itself is extremely dark. The problem is that they're so close together, and yet they have to be blended. There are no hard edges here. There are no lines on a nose. So the challenge from a pure painting standpoint is to get those colors in the right places and then blend them together without losing them or blending them too much so the nose has no shape at all. So I wind up doing my painting with this brush, which is a number 8 round brush, fairly large round brush. And then I wind up cleaning this off and drying it with a paper towel and using the same brush to blend with. I can't use my big blending brush. It just wouldn't fit in the tight spaces that I have to work with. So let's cut to the close-up and I'll demonstrate how to paint a nose. Okay, for the sake of efficiency, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by painting the darkest shadows that I see on this portrait using pure burnt sienna on a number 8 brush. So I'm just going to look in here without wasting a lot of time, quickly decide what are the darkest areas where I need some pure burnt sienna, which is about the darkest color that I like to use typically on a portrait. And it is the darkest color I'm going to use for shadowing on this portrait for sure. So I look there and there, see that, and then the other color I see is around the eye, where it's very dark. And there's a little bit, it's hard to tell, it could be a little lighter, but I'm going to blend. So I'm going to lay down just a little bit of this burnt sienna down through here. Because you can see it's dark there, it's maybe not quite as dark here as it is here. But when I blend, I should be able to bring that up a little lighter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm mixing a little bit of red with my burnt sienna and a little bit of white. I want to make myself a little lighter and a little redder color to match these colors here. So let's see what this looks like. So this would go in here, go underneath the nose a little bit,
it would extend the nostril a little bit. And there's a little bit sweeping up like that. Goes all the way to the nostril. And then there's a little something under here. Some of it over here. And then there's a lot of it all up through here. Now I'm going to get in part of it right up with my burnt sienna. And then I'm going to go for a little lighter shade. So mix a little more white. And this little bit lighter shade comes right off the tip of the eyebrow. Goes down and meets this. It's all going to be blended. And it heads out this way for sure. So now I'm picking up some pure red. Well, it's not pure red because I'm not using a clean brush, but I want to be redder through here because the photo's redder. So I'm blending in a little red through here. Now I want to go lighter and redder. Going out, this shadow goes almost, this lighter shadow goes almost to that little dark area there. Maybe a little bit up in here. And I'll use this to soften this edge because I'm going to paint some real light in here in a minute. I want something to blend with it. And I see a little of that lighter shadow under here. And then it actually goes down through here too. So I'll paint some of that down in here, underneath the nose. So I may be a little dark there. So what do? Just take a little white, just blend it right in. That wraps up around here, still with a good bit of color. So to paint a nose, you've also got to paint the area around the nose, or you'll never get the nose. Now, still working with this kind of medium light shadow color. I want to finish getting up in here. Okay. Now, I'm going to blend just a little bit with this brush before I even clean the brush, just because I think it'll work a little bit. So that's what I'm doing right now, blending out just a touch. Alright, now I'm going to go to some pretty light mixture here. Now this is a light mixture of white, cadmium red hue, and a little bit of burnt sienna. Now, you notice on that first pass I thought it was a little pink when I actually saw it on the canvas. Still do, but I can lighten that up a little bit. So I'm painting the lighter colors now that wrap around the nose. She's pretty light all the way through here. And it's light here, even lighter than I'm doing. Let me give me a little more white. See, this white actually sweeps up right straight between the nostrils, and it wraps around the nostrils, goes out about like this. notice there's a band of pretty light color, goes all the way around this nostril, pretty deep into here, and then it's also pretty light down through here, all the way up to where it's going to blend in with this, I think, and even under here, I believe. So starting to get really rough, kind of a nose shape going on. Now it's also quite light all through here, lighter than there. This comes up all the way through here, comes down this way too. Now notice what I'm doing right now is just very rough. I'm just laying down shapes of color, and it looks horrible at this stage because it's rough and unblended. So now I'm going to go back to some darker colors, pick up some red and do just a little bit of this area in here. This gradually gets darker as it goes up. Pretty dark in through here. And then it gets real dark under the eye here. It's got kind of a circle under our eye. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to blend these areas, but I don't blend blind. I'm looking at this while I'm blending this, because really what I've done up to this point is just rough painting, and what I want to do at this point is start refining my painting a little bit, making this look more like this with the blending. So I want to be careful, am I blending this too far this way, blending the light too much into the dark? This is where I'm really painting, is what I'm trying to get around to saying. And you know, when you do this, it's really good to kind of disconnect your mind and just copy. See, right here I'm seeing that the dark goes down into this a little bit, so I'm dragging a little of this down, just some. I don't want to do too much of that here because it's pretty light right there, but I want to smooth all this stuff out. You can see just in this little area that I've started to smooth how much better it looks already. Blending, in my opinion, is the key to portraiture. So, basically, you just keep pecking away at it till you're satisfied. And at this point, I think I just about am. I think I've got a pretty good copy of my reference photo. It's nice and soft. I don't have any hard edges. I have very few even soft edges. Almost everything's been blended to the point that it's either a very soft edge or it's a lost edge. And it gives the impression that a nose really does. Doesn't have a definite shape, doesn't have a definite outline, but if you copy where the highlights are, if you copy the shadows, the nose emerges from the canvas in a pretty satisfying way. So I hope you've enjoyed this. My name again is Lance Porter. I have a couple other videos on YouTube you might enjoy as well. Check them out. If you get a chance, please check out my website, which is learntopaintportraits.com, and thanks for watching.